Hello, my name is Michael O'Keefe, aka The Movie Wist. If you enjoy this interview and want to hear more top-notch film industry conversations, please press the thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and hit the bell to stay in the know. Hello, Darragh Carey. Why did you want to make a Brixton tale?
Well, the script was brought to myself and Bertrand de Roche from a friend of ours, Rupert Bainham. And he went to a school. He grew up in an environment very much like Leah in the film. So he went to a very prestigious and well-to-do English boarding school. And he was fascinated by how everyone in this school who grew up in their big houses with their posh parents was kind of obsessed with street culture, in London. And there was a lot of cultural appropriation going on. And then he was always troubled by it. And he was trying to figure out exactly what it was that was bothering him about it, because they weren't doing anything actively to harm anyone, but he just felt there was something insidious about it, and it was a bit like a fetish. So that's what drew him into writing the film. And then he asked me to get involved, and I thought it was a great story.
That's interesting. So how did you find the transition from short filmmaking to feature-length filmmaking?
Well, it was a trial by fire for us. So we'd only made a small number of shorts first. And I think the biggest transition is just the amount of prep that has to go in. For a good short film, of course, there's loads of prep, but just the scale of everything you have to think about in advance is much, much bigger. And the amount of things that are out of your control are just astronomically bigger than they are on a short film shoot. We shot 18 days, which is really short for a feature, but it's really long for a short. And the amount of things that can go wrong in a day is remarkable.
What are some of your favorite British gangster movies?
British gangster movies?
Yeah.
Well, I think the early Guy Ritchie movies were great. I think there's a lot of great TV. So, for instance, Top Boy is amazing and has been for years. It's great that the world is seeing it now, because it came out years ago first, and only people in the UK and Ireland would have seen it. Then, of course, you have the kidulthood and adulthood and brotherhood movies by Noel Clarke. So they're really good. And then I would say there's like really old school ones. So you get like amazing Ray Winston. Of course, Jamie was in the film, but Ray Winston's early films were amazing as well. There were loads of the films in the 70s and the 80s that were incredible. So
you got a lot. You got The Long Good Friday. You got Sexy Beast.
Sexy Beast is amazing. Now that's more recent than a few of these. Like the performances in Sexy Beast are just incredible. Like they're amazing and great, just great writing too. But we wouldn't necessarily see this as so much as a gangster movie. Everyone's relatively well intentioned, even if they do go off the rails.
True. It's a gangster movie of sorts. So, tell me a bit about sharing the directing title.
Yeah, so we weren't as worried. Like usually, I'd be, I'd be thinking that that's a recipe for disaster. But in this case, myself and Bertrand had directed a bunch of shorts before. We directed a commercial or two before, so we kind of knew what our working relationship was like. But even so, I think the most important thing was that we knew what film we were making. So we spoke about the film ourselves, and Rupert and Chi, who worked on the story with Rupert, we all spoke about the film for at least a year, must have been a year, 15 months maybe, before we even started considering shooting. And we just worked on the script. So we knew the film inside out. We had all of our references that we had run by each other. So we had a whole folder of references for every single scene. So then we knew what was in each other's head. So made it easier.
Oh, wow. So tell me a bit about the preparation. Walk us through that a bit.
Yeah, so first it was all script. So we all met in the screenwriting course in the London Film School. So this is actually the first London Film School grad script, the one that was written in the course in the last 15 years. The first one to be made into a feature film that was released. So
that's great.
But in order to make it ready for release, we worked on that for, like I said, 16 months. And Rupert and Chi were working on it. Then myself and Bert came in and we started making director's edits, and then we started introducing characters and rewriting scenes all together as a group, and then the prep, when we really started cracking the story was when we were working with the people in Summer Leighton Estate, so the community there, and they've not only have they got incredible stories, but they're just like incredible story editors, you know, like Dexter Padmore and Rose Kerr, and Dennis Jamfi, they were all amazing, and they knew that world. So that's when it really came to life.
Okay. And do you like to, as a writer yourself, do you like to outline things, or do you like to just dive into scenes at first? What do you like to do?
Well, I've tried diving straight into scenes and then come a cropper, and then I have lots of lovely scenes in a row, and then no movie. So yeah, I outline now. I didn't when I first started. Now it's like I more or less have to have something written entirely in my head before I'll write any, like however I have it expressed in terms of an outline or a beat sheet or something. But I need to be able to watch the film from beginning to end in my head before I put down like any words in script format and screenplay format.
Do you write cards, or do you use stuff on Final Draft? What do you do?
Yeah, cards are great. Anything physical I find really useful. So for this film, we had cards for in 2 stages. We had it in the script stage, all laid out on the floor of our production office that we managed to scam our way into. So the whole floor was covered in cards, and we were moving them around, scrapping them, flinging them out. And then again in the edit, we had them up on a wall with our editor, Darragh Carey. So we had all of our scenes up on the wall, and then he had his monitor over here, and everything was in the edit. So it just helps you keep an eye on the structure. But it's also good to get tactile and use your hands, because so much of it is sitting tapping on a computer, you know?
Right. All right. So what are your thoughts on doxing, since you have a bit of that in this movie?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think there's an issue now with the proliferation of social media, and the fact that everyone grows up now with social media is there's been, in my opinion, there's been this movement away from tangible consequence. So people aren't worried about, oh yeah, well, what will happen to someone if I hit back in a certain way? I feel wronged, I'm going to lash out, and the potential of harm is huge. So, you know, like John Ronson wrote an amazing, he of course wrote Frank as well, that was directed by Lenny Abrams. So, but he wrote an amazing book, that was called so you've been publicly shamed, I believe, something like that. And he writes all about it. It's just you can cause great harm even whilst you're doing what you think is the right thing. You know, like everyone acting like judge, jury, and executioner on social media. You're not looking at someone face to face. You know, you're not thinking about the facts necessarily. What you're doing is you're just lashing out and reacting. And I think that in a way, people on social media have lost their conscience a little bit.
All right. So tell me about the casting process, and why do you think the audience will like your cast?
Well, they're amazing. So that's one reason to like the cast. So the casting process started in Summer Leighton Estate. So we started before we cast any of the like experienced professional actors. We worked with people in Summer Leighton in Brixton, and we met the community there. And a bunch of them were really interested in acting. Some of them were incredibly talented actors. So then what we did was we started workshopping scenes with them before we even got our casting director Lucy Rands on board. So then once Lucy came on board, we started casting the other parts. So that's where we cast Ola, for instance. So it split up this way, right? So Ola, Jamie Winston, and Lily Newmark, Ola Orabi, they were all cast through our casting agent, through their own agents. Lucy Rands brought them in. Then Craig Middleburg was discovered by a friend of mine on a shoot. They were working together, and he just came back, and he was like, one of the co-producers on the film, Sam Marriott, he was on a shoot with him and was like, this guy is amazing, and he's just like Archie. And then all the other cast, so there was like Darius, who plays Benji's cousin, Rose Kerr, who plays Benji's mom. They're from Summer Leighton Estate. And I think I'm biased, but I think that there's an amazing gel between the cast. I don't think that you can see a divide between the professional actors and people who were up until now non-actors.
I love the mother.
Yeah, Rose is amazing. Like that's
Yeah,
not even half of her. Like we saw her she did a little short film for Dennis before,
yeah.
and like she was she's a natural. She's incredible. Huge stage presence, great charisma, really good ad lib, and really good on story as well. She's a really good story editor. So yeah, we were so lucky to have Rose and Dexter. They were incredible.
I definitely. So obviously the festival circuit is a little weird now.
Yeah.
But or maybe not weird. It's just it's a new thing. It's a little unprecedented.
I mean, it'd be nice to go to a place.
yeah. I'm sure you would love to watch your movie with an audience. But are you happy that this made it to Slamdance?
Oh, like it means the world to me, honestly. Like, in all of us, like we never knew whether it was going to go anywhere, like I mean, I'm a little older than some of the other guys, so I'm particularly pragmatic, you could say, pessimistic. So and we've been watching films for years, and all these, like you make your own film and then you're trying to compare yourself to someone like Lynn Ramsey or like Andrea Arnold or like John Singleton movies back in the day, like you can't really compare it. So we were just delighted to get into Slamdance and to get the response it's got. I mean, loads of people love it. I mean, we've had some criticism, that's fine, but yeah, the response has been absolutely amazing, and it's just really exciting that the world is going to see it now, and that it might mean something to people.
That's great. Have you been writing during COVID-19? What have you been up to?
Yeah, doing a bit of writing. I mean, I'm back in the day job, of course, as well. We're independent filmmakers.
Sure, yeah.
I got to pay the rent. So I've been working away. Thank God that I'm very lucky to be able to work during this situation. But so yeah, I mean, myself and Rupert have been working on a script. Bertrand is working on a script with a friend of his now as well. That's he's got one in development in Canada. So we're all scattered around the world. We're all doing our own writing, and yeah, it's exciting to see what we'll do next.
Well, we'll stay tuned. Darragh, thanks for your time. Is there anything else you would like to say before I let you go?
No, I think that covers it. Just thank you so much for the interview, and thanks to your viewers for watching the film.
My pleasure. Take care. Have a good one.